Hello, Realistic. George here, a unit manager from Filipino Homes and a PRC accredited and DHSUD registered salesperson. At ngayon, pag-uusapan natin in detail ang contract to sell at bakit kailangan mong basahin ito bago ka pumirma. I will be making a PowerPoint presentation para makikita mo yung details and stipulations ng example ng contract, ano ang nakasaad dito, at ano ang dapat mong gawin in situations that you need to understand and execute what is included in the contract. Okay? So, let's go! First of all, ang daming rason kung bakit ang mga tao ay ayaw magbasa ng contract to sell. Isang rason is tamad magbasa. Isipin mo naman, 6 copies at 6 to 10 pages per copy. At per page, dapat mong pirmahan. Second reason, sabi ni agent, just to sign it. Yung pirma mo ang nakalagay dyan, hindi pirma ng agent mo. The next reason is why you just sign the contract to sell right away without reading is, it looks harmless. Of course, piece of paper lang yan. So, pirma ka na lang. Another reason, I trust the developer. So, maybe the developer has a track record of delivering at marami na silang projects at yung brand nila or yung company nila ay talagang respected and credible. Another reason, busy. And, it can be a valid excuse. And another reason is, what could go wrong? So, they're very confident. Maybe it's not their first time to sign a contract to sell. Marami na silang investment at wala namang nangyayari. And then, something happened. You lost your job. There was a delay in the turnover. A better offer came. You cannot afford anymore. So, ano ba talaga ang contract to sell? A contract to sell is technically an agreement between a buyer and the developer. So yung contract to sell is more like a provisional contract. It is not a deed of sale or a deed of conditional sale. It is a prelude to a deed of sale if the obligations are met between the buyer and the seller. At ito na yung overview ng contract to sell at bakit ito dapat mong malaman. So, I will not read through all of the details, but I will just highlight some of the critical factors that you need to understand and read sa contract to sell bago mo ito permahan. So, the first page, at again, every page, you must sign. Ito, nakasaad yung who is the buyer. That's why nakasaad dito yung name ng client at sino yung developer. At nakasaad din dito yung project name at yung details ng unit na pinibili mo. So, in this case, my client agrees to buy a parking unit. Anong floor level at ano yung unit number at nakasaad din dito yung total selling price. On the second page is on the default. So, heto. So, if you've noticed on the default, purchaser lahat. Delay ka ng check. May information ka na nag-misrepresent sa'yo or natalbog yung check mo. So, it can be a case of default. And dapat mo itong malaman. Although hindi naman automatic na magde-default kasi si developer ay magsasend ng letter sa iyo because there are cases when you are not aware na meron ka na palang cause of default. Okay, so wag kang kabahan agad. Ito yung section 4, consequences of default and cancellation. Ito yung madalas na si buyer nagko-complain sa DHSUD and I will read it. Upon the occurrence of any event of default as specified in the immediately preceding clause, the seller, meaning the developer, may at its sole option and discretion cancel this contract without need of court declaration by giving the purchaser a notarial notice of cancellation which shall have the following effects. 4.1. If the purchaser has not paid at least 2 years of installments, the seller or the developer shall refund to the purchaser all payments received, less penalties accrued as of the date of cancellation, an amount equivalent to 50% of the total amount paid as liquidated damages, commissions and incentives paid to the broker, if any unpaid charges on the unit, and all taxes, fees, and charges paid for by the purchaser on account of the sale and which have been remitted by the seller to relevant national and local government agencies. So, meron palang refund. And on 4.2, if the purchaser has paid at least 2 years of installments, he is entitled to the following rights in case he defaults in the payment of succeeding installments: to pay the unpaid installments due within the total grace period earned by him, which is hereby fixed at the rate of 1 month grace period for any 1 year of installment. So meaning, may habol ka pa, pwede ka pang bumayad ng outstanding balance mo without interest, provided that if 1 year, you will have 1 month grace period. At if 2 years na, mayroon kang 2 months grace period without interest. So, binibigyan ka pa ng chance ng developer na makakontinue ng installments mo na walang interest. So, use your grace period wisely. And then in letter B, if the purchaser still fails and the seller opts to cancel the sale, so gusto mo nang mag-cancel talaga kasi hindi mo na talaga kaya, the seller shall refund to the purchaser the cash surrender value of the payments equivalent to 50% of the total payments made. Nakasaad yan sa RA 6552 or the Realty Installment Buyers Act. Provided further, so meron pang additional, that the refund, if and when entitled, shall be subject to further deductions as stated in section 4.1. So ano nga ba yung 4.1? Yung 4.1 ay yung deductions ay aside sa 50%, meron ding additional deductions on liquidated damages, commissions, and incentives paid to the broker, unpaid charges on the unit, all taxes, fees, and charges paid for by the purchaser on account of the sale and which have been remitted by the seller to relevant national and local government agencies. And I have discussed this in my previous video on the respond of the DHSUD in terms of clarifying what is stipulated in 6552 and what is in the contract to sell. At ito yung section 5 on the title and ownership of the unit. Ito yung nakasaad kung ano ang ina-agree mo upon completion of the following. The seller shall execute a deed of absolute sale in favor of the purchaser to transfer, assign, and convey legal title in the unit to the buyer upon the completion of the following. Ito yung nakasaad sa contract to sell na if na-comply ito, then you will proceed with the next step, which is the deed of sale. So ito, purchaser makes full payment. So kompleto na yung payments mo of the total consideration and all other amounts due and payable hereunder which may have accrued. Letter B, purchaser performs all other obligations set forth in this contract. Letter C, issuance of the condominium certificate of title by the Registry of Deeds in the name of the seller. Letter D, issuance of the corresponding tax declaration by the Office of the City Assessor in the name of the seller. The seller, meaning the developer, shall likewise transfer, assign, and convey to the buyer a corresponding pro rata interest in the common areas of the project to be conveyed to the condominium corporation pursuant to Section 8 hereof. Okay, so that's on the title and ownership of the unit. At if you would really want to know more about the details of your contract to sell, Section 6 talks about the taxes, registration cost, and other expenses. And Section 7 talks about the delivery and turnover of the unit. I would just like to point it out kasi dito nakasaad yung date kung saan dapat ito turn over na ni developer ang unit para sa iyo. And in this contract to sell, dapat may date dito sa 7.7. Now, there are situations na yung date na ito ay hindi na-follow, and one of the most obvious reasons ay ang pandemic. That is beyond the control of the developer, kaya hindi sila nakapag-turn over based on the agreed date. At yung Section 8 on the condominium corporation, and Section 9 on the warranties, and 10 on the assignments and transfer of rights. I will not read through all of this, but again, if you are a buyer or an interested buyer, I would really recommend you to read the contract or at least have an idea of what is included or stipulated in this agreement. And it is very important that you know what you have agreed on and what you have signed and what you have affixed your signature on, especially that this is a legal document. On Section 12, this is the entire contract wherein you will sign the seller and the representatives of the purchaser. Okay, so that is the end of the contract to sell. Now, during the duration of the contract to sell, the ownership of the property and its rights still belong to the developer. Now, alam ko na maraming mga buyers dyan na kapag nakasign na sila ng reservation fee at nakapag-submit na ng PDC or post-dated check, feel nila ay sa kanila na yung unit. Kaya nga kapag nagsa-site tour sila or yung they will pass by the property, they will really claim that na sa akin na yung property na yan. Well, that is fine and you can do that. But technically, based on the agreement, sa developer pa rin yan. Kaya nga, you need to be careful na nafa-follow mo kung ano yung nakasaad sa contract to sell. Kaya napaka-importante na alam mo kung ano ang obligation mo sa developer na nakasaad sa contract to sell. And I hope you decide na magbasa ng contract to sell. I know it's a very long document and you can take that home and you don't need to sign it right away. If you are super busy at kailangan mo nang umalis, then you bring that contract to sell sa bahay mo at basahin mo. Take time, maybe a couple of days for you to really understand what is stipulated in the contract. At kung mayroon kang mga bagay na hindi mo naintindihan, either you clarify from the developer or you clarify from your real estate agent or you can seek clarification from your lawyer. As long as you understand what are the consequences and what are your obligations based on the contract, para pagdating ng panahon na mayroong unexpected circumstance, ay alam mo where you stand and what are the responsibilities of the developer to you. So, there you have it, and I hope you learned something new. Once again, this is George Ryan Sarmago, Unit Manager from Filipino Homes. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay at home, and peace.